Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the third Virtual Mentors Forum. Today our guest speaker is, let me introduce our guest speaker, Dr. MTD Lakshan, consultant ENT and head and neck surgeon, who has been contributing immensely to the healthcare services in Sri Lanka with his excellent academic and surgical skills. Also, he has fellowships in the UK as well as in Europe. So it's my privilege to introduce Dr. MTD Lakshan for today's session and to deliver this timely presentation on digital tools for medical education. The forum is open for you, sir.
Thank you very much, Assis. Can I share my screen? Says I can't because your screen is shared. Okay, thank you. I hope you can see the screen.
Yes, we can see.
We can see. So if there's any questions or any interactions, please fire away the chat box. I will be checking on that. And also, just take this off. Okay, right. Thank you very much again for giving me the opportunity. And I'd like to thank Dr. Damani as well, one of my great teachers. And actually, I'm really passionate about these digital tools and medical education, both independently. And this is a situation where they come together. So digital tools are now coming up in a big way in every aspect of human life, and medical education is not an exception. So as teachers who train our students for future, we need to make sure that they are competent with their digital tools as well. And more often than not, what we see is they are actually competent with them, and that the trainers or the teachers part, there's a lack. And then there's an issue of cohesion and guidance, because this forum, Virtual Mentors Forum, if you look at the term of a mentor, the definition of a term mentor is that person who will guide with experience and guidance of a junior person. So we need to be aware ourselves about these tools so that we can guide them well. So since I've been given only half an hour, I don't think we can go into details of the tools that I'm going to discuss today, but I'll give you bird's eye overview, and you can explore on your own about these topics. So the promise of the presentation is I'll be discussing 4 digital tools in brief: Zotero, Obsidian, Anki, and Notion. Before I start, by way of hands or like interaction on the chat, can you let me know, are you familiar with this software? So do you use them in your regular basis?
No, not yet, sir.
Not yet. Anyone? I think we have how many participating? About 10, right? 10, 15.
I'm familiar with Zotero, not the other 3.
Okay, right. Okay. So Zotero, someone is familiar, and most of the time the other softwares are not very commonly used. Okay, so let's share the screen again then. Okay, so when you look at education, now I believe there are 3 skills that anyone needs, not only medical education. So you need to collect information, and you need to process information, and you need to recall information. It may be at the bedside of a patient for treatment, or maybe an exam, maybe a Viva or MCQ or essay. So recall part is also important. So when we are learning our practice or our craft as doctors or medical students, we need to concentrate on all 3 areas. When you look at collection, that is where the Zotero comes in. Now, when we were students, our data for like medical education was a slide, a transparency, or put on an overhead projector, and then we used to take notes. And if we are lucky, we might get a printout from the lecturer with the slides. And then that's it. Then we had discussions from books. We used to jot down things. But with time, now we are seeing a lot of other resources that people need to collect. For example, it may be an ebook or a PDF, or it may be a YouTube link of a describing like maybe a lecture on a person, for example, anatomy description of a brain, a YouTube link. Or it may be a website or a URL where you can find information embedded in that particular website. Likewise, it may be a podcast, it may be so many digital information media is available nowadays for students, and we need to have a way to collect these information in a central compartment so that we can easily access them. So when we were students, we were actually carrying the books or the files punched out, but the problem is that it's not practical to collect those details. You can write down the URL of a website, but it's not so practical. So what are the ideal characteristics of a system where you can collect information? One, it should be able to collect all those informations to start with. We should not be omitting these things are not collectible. You need to collect everything. You should be able to. Second, it should be available to you wherever or whenever you want it. It should be available for you. Thirdly, you should be able to search through it. No point in having all the collection with you if you can't quickly access the data that you're looking for. For example, you can have 5 or 6 books that we have taken note of, but when we want to search for a particular piece of information, if we were to go through it, it's not very efficient. These data should be able to communicate with other software. For example, if you were to like provide an abstract or a presentation, should be able to have a link between these things. So I by no means degrade pen and paper, because that is the crux of the matter, and there are studies to show that sometimes taking notes on laptop may be inferior if you look at the memory and recall capacities to taking notes on the pen and paper. Probably our central nervous system works better or more connectedly if you use it pen and paper method to collect information, but with a lot of disadvantages. So one way would be to combine the two together. You can collect digitally and use pen and paper to process them. So Zotero is such a software, and ideally the solution should be free, and Zotero is free. It's an open source software. I'll just now show my Zotero collection for you to just get an idea. Okay, can you see this screen now? Say yes.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Excellent. Now this is my library. So these are the details I've been collecting over the years. For example, angiofibroma, this is one of the surgeries that we do. Business of ENT, what are the financial considerations and things like that. This is another new upcoming topic. Cerebral venous thrombosis, cochlear implantation, anosmia, CSF, whatever. So these are the topics that interest me. And whenever I see an article on this, I can link the article into my library. For example, sinusitis. I had to deliver a lecture to neurology college about sinusitis. So these are the articles that I have collected on it. So if you go to this particular article, clinical relevant phenotypes in chronic rhinosinusitis, this will give on the right-hand side, you can see the table of content. And let's say I'm interested on the phenotype eosinophilic airway inflammation. When I click that particular link, it will take to the relevant part of the PDF document. So how great that is. So you can immediately, now you may be having PDF articles, but how would you immediately go to that? Let's do another search on this. If you go to library and search a good doctor, for example. So this is an article actually I researched for this presentation. In 2002, RISO, actually there's a letters written to BMJ. What's a good doctor and how do you make one? And here also they refer to digital technology appropriate usage as a characteristic of a good doctor in 21st century. So similarly, so these links can be collected in a central repository. And if you go to, just show you a YouTube link also, European question paper. So if you go to this one, you can see this particular link is actually a video recording. It's a webinar series on 2020 European question paper of sinusitis. So whenever you come across something relevant to you that you might think that you will read about in later, assess that, process that, and remember that or recall that you need that data, this is a way to collect it. Now, how do you get data into this? That can be done in many ways. You can, if you have a PDF, you can just drag and drop into this. And also there are extensions in the web browsers itself. So when you're searching on a web browser, let me show you that now. So for example, if you're on this web browser, you can see this is my presentation at the moment. There are small icons here for extensions, and one of them is this one. Where is it? Right, so can't find it exactly here. So with this, you can have a link where you can save to Zotero. So with that, you can immediately attach the document that you want to into the Zotero library. That is a second method. Third method is you can drag and drop onto each folder that you create on it. Let's go to a different browser, I'll show you. Right, let me show this one now. Okay, so this is a Chrome browser. Now I'm searching sinusitis on PubMed. And this is an article, let's say I'm interested in, 2021 article on acute sinusitis. I think this should go to my Zotero library for future reference. All I have to do is to go here and click the button to go to the Zotero library. This one, yeah, save to Zotero. You click on that, and you can select the folder. So since this is sinusitis, I'll put it into sinusitis neurology lecture, and you can do it. Say done, and now this article is captured in the Zotero library. Shall we go there and have a look? We go there. This is my Zotero library. You can see the acute sinusitis lecture. So its details are here. Who are the authors? What are the abstract details here? So all the details, which journal and all that. So that is what Zotero is very briefly. And in fact, there are training courses on Zotero. So I'm not going to run one in 5 minutes. So now you get the idea what a digital data collection tool looks like. And having said that, this is very important for postgraduate trainees, consultants, and those who are really interested in keeping themselves updated rather than a medical student level. But definitely, this is a good option for students as well, because they can put the PDFs, the lecture slides, YouTube videos, everything onto this. But this is one of the good, free, universally available collecting tool. So going back to our lecture, conscious of the time, I have another 15 minutes more to go. Okay, so second thing is, now I have collected now all the data. Now I need to process them. How do you process digital data? Then comes Obsidian. Obsidian is one of the tools. There are so many tools. Why I like Obsidian is because of many reasons. The reasons are, number one is free. It's again open source. So you don't have to pay for it, but there are features that you can pay for, like ObSync, where you sync the data across multiple devices, but there are ways to get that even without paying also. But it's a free open source software. Second, it has backlinking capacity. Now let's go to the Obsidian. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is my Obsidian Vault. They call it Vault as in B-A-U-L-T Vault. And these are the files that I have collected. So the good thing about this is they are all, the knowledge is interconnected. So this is my knowledge graph. As you can see, the dots are connected to each other. So if I go to, let's say, so this is the ENT module for University of California. So I'm developing. So these are the references in my Sotero library. This is American Academy of Otolaryngologists, primary care, PDF. And these are characteristics of the final product of a doctor. And these are things that I think about. And then they are related to other things, other nodes, other knowledges, like this way. If you look at this side, you can see this is the ENT module. It's also connected to how to take a history of a patient with ear problem, or maybe hearing as like physiology. For example, if you go there, you can connect to this one. This is the auditory pathway, sound wave pathway, tympanic membrane ossicles. How does it go? What is the mnemonic? And how does it connect to each other? So as you can see what I mean, so pathology, physiology, anatomy, all that is intermingled. So actually these data that we study in different disciplines are intermingled in this way. So the comprehension that you create knowledge yourself, actually this is called note making as opposed to note taking. So we all been trained to take notes. For example, Cornell note-taking system or whatever the note-taking systems that are popular. But here we don't take notes, we make notes ourselves. So if you go to definition of a mentor, for example, an experienced and trusted advisor. This was done for this virtual mentors forum. We click that. So these are the items that I'd like to discuss with you. So, and this is the graph for that. So when you look at if you take core, for example, these are the other things that are connected to that. And this knowledge graph can be customized based on what you want to know. So how do you identify superior laryngeal nerve? These are the ways we do that and how they are connected to each other. So when you study for a particular thing that you're interested in, you can see the links and go ahead. For example, sinusitis. Central compartment atopic disease is connected to that. These are the interleukins. So I think you get the idea how this is different to a traditional hierarchical note-taking systems. Note-taking has been always hierarchical. You get the definition, etiology, pathology, symptoms, signs, treatment, complications. But now we are connecting across the disciplines. And now that will help us to bring up new ideas and also to remember better in our memory rather than rote learning. I think that's a good idea when it comes to processing of data. Third thing is about Anki. Now we are coming to the third principle, that is the recall. Anki is a software, a flashcard software we can use to recall things, recall knowledge. That is again very important because, as all of you know, as teachers, our memory fades away with time in a logarithmic manner. So spaced repetition will help to get the knowledge back, and memory will be longer. So if you look at the Anki demonstration, can you see this Anki deck? No? Let's go to Anki. Can you see this?
Yes, we can.
You can see. Okay, so
Yes.
this is the Anki deck that I use. So there's ENT stuff and data visualization, things like that. If you go to custom study session, so prophylactic treatment of migraine. So amitriptyline, propranolol, topiramate, valproate. This is the answer. So you can see whether this answer was easy, hard, or I want it immediately within 10 minutes. So you can decide how quickly you will need it back. So I said, I knew that answer. Chronic migraine is defined as when the patient has 15 headaches per month. So that's an easy one. Can abnormal physical examination findings be found in vestibular migraine? Yes, you can find. For example, question is so you can that way you can recall your knowledge in a flashcard method. And by the way, we have been practicing, at least I have been practicing this when I was a medical student with cardboard cards that I actually cut from bristle boards. And on one side, I used to put the question, the other side, the answer, and use the flashcards. And those cards that are not easy for me to recall, I used to put in a different box and to go through them more frequently than the rest. So now what the IT does for us is it has an algorithm. When we say it's easy, the frequency of that particular flashcard coming up in front of you is less as opposed to hard. When you mark as hard, it will quickly given to you again and again, repetition. So that thinking actually happens by the computer. And it's also easier to put pictures, graphs, and things like that onto these cards. And also, and the other thing is about this Zettelkasten method. I'm sure that also you have come across this Zettelkasten. It's a German word, as you know. We can have a discussion later about it if you want. So they are all connected. For example, now if I'm making a card about, let's say, cat scratch fever. So other cards that I have created about it. How is bacillary angiomatosis, Bartonella switch transmitted by cat scratch? Cat scratch disease is caused by Bartonella hensale. What is the etiology of cat scratch? So these are the other cards that are connected. Now you get a pathology card also. Which type of granulomatous inflammation associated with? This is the pathology card, non-caseating. So which bug is associated with? Dog or cat bites. This is Pasteurella, it's a different one, not cat scratch fever, but other bites. Toxoplasma gondii transmitted by cat feces. So all the cat connect. So you can see how your memory and thinking actually diffuses through your repertoire of everything: pathology, microbiology, anatomy, histology. So I think with that we get a good finished product who can actually apply their knowledge by the bedside of the patient, because his or her knowledge is not compartmentalized. So with that way, we can use Anki to recall, and also when we create, we revise our stuff. So last one is Notion. Notion is a database-driven software, a note-taking app, and it can be used to many users as well. It's like other things. I'll show you that now. Okay, so this is the table that we can create for class notes. For example, antidepressants, if you go there. So in the class of psychiatry, or you can change the class or whatever you want. It's a lecture, or it can be a study group seminar where you got the information. You can attach the materials by choosing a file, PDF or whatever to this particular topic. And so this is the notes that we can type in, what to do in these situations, and efficacy of antidepressant compared to placebo, how it is. These details you can put. And of course, these are universally searchable. And this way, this is like more like a table-based or database-driven structure. And these databases can be any type. Can be a text, number, or select, multi-select, date, person. So many options are available for a person to collect details. So I think now mostly medical students go to Notion, and the postgraduate students go to Zotero for their data collection. So this is the last software that I wanted to show. I think in 26 minutes, I was able to sort of give you a brief understanding of the 4 software that I wanted to show: Notion, Anki, Obsidian, and Zotero. And coming back to the 3 key skills that are important for like medical or any other education is to collect information, process information, and recall information. I mean, the three basic ones. And I've shown you a couple of software tools that you can use to collect, to process, and to recall. And these are all options that I showed are non-paid, free software, and a little bit of practice and applying them into your own practice. You can master them and get good benefit out of it. And that will help your students, or if anyone is already using that, to help with that. And at the same time, I'd like to go back again to pen and paper. That is no means inferior. However, you can realize the things that I have shown, how difficult that would be on a pen and paper method. And with digital advancements that we see in our day-to-day lives, so more and more students will be on these skills or on these software platforms. And we need to update ourselves and help our students also. And actually, this knowledge has to be imparted to them actively. That's what I believe, for them to get the benefit of this free software. So with that, I'll stop there. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them now.
I have one small question. Are all these platforms freely available
Yes.
online?
Yes, all the 4 platforms I mentioned are free.
All right.
And if you go to Notion, that there is a educational plan also. There are plans: personal plan, educational, business, and enterprise. And when you use your university email address, you get an educational plan also. The advantage of that, more than the personal plan, is you can have uploads without a limitation. I think if it is a personal plan, your limitation is about 2 MB per file. But when you have an educational plan, that limit is not there. So there are changes like that, but you can use your university ID email address to get a educator plan. So anyway, they're all free. The features are different in various plans.
Thank you.
Anything else? I hope this was what you had in your mind when you invited me. Was it completely off the mark, or is it?
No. It's perfect. This is perfect. Actually,
because this is the first time I'm delivering this lecture also, so that's why I'm getting that feedback. So it's like a basic overview of things. And of course, when you go to YouTube, you can see the tutorials for all these software, and you can practice yourself. That's how I learned, actually. It's very easy.
Excuse me, how we incorporate this research data into this software?
Yes, you mean the Zotero, how to get the PDFs into that? Is it that you want to
Not inside the feeding of the research data, the data collections?
Your own data, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, that you can use Notion, because it's a database table thing. If I want to show you that. So here you can add a page with a table where you can put, let's say, now each row is a data point. For example, you are collecting data of a cohort. Let's say you're collecting BHTs. Okay. BHT with maybe multi-select, let's say. Select the gender and let's say the height. Just giving your basic idea. And height, we have to make it as a number, so you can sort of get average and things like that. So let's say we have a VHT number who is a male with a height of 156 centimeters and another male with 165. So you can calculate the range, sum or maximum, medium, minimum. Let's say the median I want to know. So median is 160. And here you can count, and based on the type of data you have put, you can do various calculations if you want to. So similarly, you can analyze your data through this. But when we collect data, you can use this and you can export this as an Excel file. Do that. Yeah, I can share this. You can email it and you can get the copy link here as well. And with this data, here you can go to export. You can create it as HTML, CSV file, or a PDF for further analysis in other softwares. So this is a data collection. If you're going for, this would be the best place to collect your personal data for research.
Itself, this statistical analysis can be also be done using this test.
Yes, but a very basic level. These software are not purposefully meant for statistical analysis. If you want, you can go to RStudio or any other like purpose-driven software for that.
Then we have to export this to other software. Yes.
Yes, you can export as a CSV file, and from that particular software, you can import it.
Yes, thank you. How about the security now? We have to get the backup for this.
Yes, that's right. So that is always a concern when it comes to digital assets. I think Obsidian is the most secure because the database is on your local machine, in your computer. So you have the access, no one has it. So that is the most secure of all the software that I mentioned. But others have the option of version control and paying for encryptions. But having said that, unless you are doing a very top secret research, I don't think you should worry too much about study material here. But when you are doing a personal research level, high level research, you should go for like very encrypted data, especially patient confidentiality issues are there, or privacy concerns. There are options differently, specifically for those situations.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, in the absence of any more questions, then shall we call it a day?
Yes, thank you so much for that excellent presentation.